I think that's the first time I've been called Ginger Kennedy. So, since I was one of those uppity women that kept her maiden name. And poor Tom, you know, we joked, but this is not in my script, so bear with me. We joked when we got married that he was a redneck feminist and I was a feminist redneck, or was it the other way around? Which is probably why we hooked up in the first place, but details. So, I haven't made through this thing yet without choking up, so bear with me. And Madison will say the same thing because, as you know, we cared about him. Okay. I miss Tom. You miss Tom. We all miss him. Father, friend, brother, uncle, ex-husband, clients, and colleagues. Since Tom thought he would die by the time he was 40, he lived longer than he thought he would, but he still died too soon for all of us. He wanted to see his beloved daughter be Dr. Kennedy. He was always very proud of her, and he loved her so much. He wanted to grow old with his friends and die with his boots on in Glamis, his first and longest lasting love. We are here this particular day on this specific weekend because Tom's 60th birthday is tomorrow. For some reason that I never really figured out, Tom's birthdays were extremely important to him. This may have started when his friend Billy Almeida, who's over there somewhere, threw him a 3-day 30th birthday bash. You'll have to ask them all the details. I think as birthday celebrations go, that one topped them all. As luck would have it, San Diego not only hosted the Thunderbolt races every year on Mission Bay, but the event was scheduled on his birthday weekend and they allowed camping. In fact, they're having it right now, so we're missing that. So from 1988 until 2017, he had a 3-day birthday weekend with a bunch of his friends and family. He loved the races so much that we even named our daughter after the Miss Madison Thunderbolt, and also a mermaid, and my sister. His second most memorable birthday was his 40th. Someone gave him a fifth of tequila, and the time it took me to go into the trailer, cut up some limes, grab the salt, fill Middleton and Tom had drunk the whole bottle. I don't think they even shared it. They were so drunk, Phil couldn't even move away from the pole he was leaning against, and Tom had passed out in the door of the trailer. So the rest of us did what any group of friends would do. We had his party without him. We sang happy birthday, we blew out his candles, ate his cake, opened his presents, and we invented Bambi the stripper, who came to entertain Tom on his birthday. The next day, everyone in camp, whether they knew Tom or not, kept telling Tom what a great party it was. And were very creative about his antics with Bambi. His friend Hartman arrived that day and was bummed that he missed all the excitement. Late that afternoon, Tom figured out that Bambi didn't exist because I wasn't upset enough for all the stories that were told. Since Tom didn't eat cake on his 50th, Madison and I created a 7-layer birthday cake made out of 50 Miller Lite cans. Full cans, by the way, with 50 candles. We figured it wouldn't go to waste, and it didn't. On his 65th, we had a surprise party for him, which was wonderful fun. Friends came who hadn't seen him in a long time. Who would have suspected that he wouldn't have another one? Tommy loved his friends, and he had a knack for making and keeping friends. So please, I'm not going to do this next bit because it's too crazy, but I know one of his teachers from high school is here, Tim Hampson is here. I know there's people from his junior high classes are here. Maybe people from when he was in kindergarten are here. So there are people here that have known Tommy for over 50 years, which is pretty amazing, and are so close to him. So thank you for that. As you know, Tom knew a thing or two about friendship. He was friends with people of all ages and all walks of life. He was always a loyal and true friend. Tom would help you whenever you needed him. He wasn't much of a talker, but he would listen. And sometimes that's all that is needed. His shop became an after-hours meeting place for his friends to gather. Tom started going out to Glamis with his family when he was 12. His father read an article in the Westways magazine about the sand dunes and the plank road and decided to try it. Tom fell in love with Glamis and would go every chance he could. When he was older and had other commitments, it would be 4 or 5 times a year with his desert snake friends. We have lost a few of our riding buddies over the years. Ken Bodie, Jason Davis, Ron Clues, Mark Cincinnati, Judy Cavanaugh, Jeff Butler, and Tom. Each one has their stories, and each one has a loved one here today. We miss them all. Every one of us are here on this earth for exactly as long as we're meant to be to fulfill our purpose. We touch other people's lives in ways we will never know while we are alive. But for those of us left behind, the time is always too short. Whether our loved ones are with us a year or 90, the loss causes us incredible pain. But even though they're not here with us in their physical bodies, they're always with us in spirit. They're all total love and love us totally. They are 100% in our corner, along with God, of course. It saddens them that their passing causes us so much pain, when in reality we should be rejoicing that they are now on their next grand adventure. In Tom's case, he is riding the best dunes ever. Glamis was Tom's passion. He knew her curves and secrets better than anyone. Although fellow snakes Paul Cavanaugh and Dale Davis were great leaders of rides, everyone liked to follow Tommy Dooner. For those of you who have never ridden in a buggy, it's like being on a roller coaster without tracks, especially at night. I don't know how he did it. He had sand in his veins, could read that sand like a book. I doubt that there is anyone in Glamis today that can lead as well as Tom. He tended to be the leader wherever we went to new dunes, like the crazy ones outside of St. Anthony, Idaho, or the ones in Coos Bay, Oregon. On our annual trip to the Coral Pink Sand Dunes in Kanab, Utah, I would read aloud his two favorite books, The Princess Bride and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Do you know where your tail is? See, no hitchhiker fans out there. Oh well. All these trips created great stories and memories. Because of these trips and hours spent around numerous campfires, the same jokes and stories would be told over and over again as new people joined the group. Eventually, all one would need to say is one line to get a point across. Lines like, save the watch, or how do you spell mom? Or why do you ask two dogs? Or Chad, or no dear, ask too high, run too fast, which was Tom's favorite. Sometime this winter, we will go to Glamis to spread Tom's ashes. We'll post it on the Carrying Bridge site in case you'd like to join us. I was asked to do a timeline about Tom for today's program. I realized that I actually knew very little hard facts about him prior to our marriage in 1989. Of course, I knew when he was born and that he graduated from Oceanside High in 1971. I believe he was a happy, free-spirited, precocious kid, somewhat like Tom Sawyer with a posse of friends. Since he had 3 older siblings and parents that were probably being tired of child-rearing, he had fewer restrictions placed on him. Even though he wasn't religious, in high school he explored different religions and dragged his friends with him. He hated being cold, yet he was a surfer for years. He was an Eagle Scout and also played baseball in high school. One story Tom would tell was when he came back from 5th grade camp. His mom washed his clothes and put them back in a suitcase. It never occurred to him to actually put them away properly, so according to Tom, he continued to live out of his suitcase until he left home. Later, during one of his divorces, he asked his mom if he could move back in while he was getting back on track. Of course, she said, 2 weeks, and she stuck to it. One of Tom's mottos was, if someone else does it, it's done right. And this applied to everything except putting away his tools. When we got engaged, all his friends laughed because he was married twice before and swore that he would never, ever get married again. One has to be careful about saying never again. When I was 11, I said I was never going back to the desert, and then I fell in love and married a desert snake and spent the next 24 years going to the desert for most of our vacations. To be fair, Glamis sand dunes are much better than the Mojave desert that I grew up in. Like his daughter, Tom experienced loss as a young adult. His father died of cancer when Tom was only 20. 5 years later, his adored older brother Frank died in a motorcycle accident. These events fueled his lifelong hatred of hospitals. When I was in labor, he was having a tailgate party in the parking lot of the hospital to celebrate. He would come in periodically to check on me and leave again. After Madison was born and cleaned up, Tom spent the first hours of her life with her and fell in love. Thank goodness Fallbrook was a small hospital. I don't think he could have had a tailgate party otherwise. That was only one of the many odd things we did in our marriage. Starting with name tags, as you see, at our wedding. We met excuse me. We met through a mutual friend, Susan Barber, at Leo's, a country western bar. He was a wonderful dancer and never said no when I wanted to dance, even if we were the only ones dancing. I loved him for that. He loved my legs and wanted me to wear a miniskirt when we got married. I agreed if he could find white cowboy boots. He did, so I did. He wore a sports coat, bowler tie, and boots for the first half of the wedding, and after the official photos changed into his signature shorts and shirt, but in white. He would wear shorts all year round if it didn't get cold. As time went on, they quit making his shorts, and so we had to settle for Bermuda length ones. When Madison started walking on our cruise bay trip, she would reach up and hold onto the hem of his shorts. It was so cute, just like that. Even though Glamis was his first love, he loved other things as well. His favorite music was classic rock, and the bands he liked best were the Eagles and Leonard Skinner. Except for the Super Bowl, the only sports he would watch was baseball. He always was a huge Padre fan, no matter how poorly they were doing. It was endearing when he would get all choked up describing an exceptional play that was made. He also enjoyed all things Star Trek, and more recently the Justice League, Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., and all the superhero movies. He shared this love with Madison. They would spend hours together watching old and new shows. He was our superhero, especially when it came to our cars. Tom was a master mechanic. He grew up being a mechanic, first at his father's Texaco station, then later in his high school auto shop fixing all the teachers' cars. He started college before his dad died, but that dream was derailed. So for the next 40 years, he worked as a mechanic, the last 30 in his own shop. As far as I was concerned, he was the best mechanic ever. Madison thought there was time to hear her dad's stories, but Tom died too young. As Liz Rigsby said, we all need to tell stories. Stories frame events. Once we massage life's traumas into a narrative form, they become less destructive and offers us a way of working through them. Now is the time for sharing Tommy's stories. Madison, can you come up and get the mobile mics ready? Give one to Keith and one to Junie. There she is. Okay. So now is the time for sharing Tommy's stories. I will start with a couple stories Tommy told me. He met his very good friend Steve Hartman when his second wife Debbie ran her buggy into Hartman's buggy at Glamis. She invited him back to camp because her husband could fix anything. And Tom and Hartman are fast friends ever since. Or the time when he broke his right forearm when he literally rolled his buggy into camp. He thinks he broke it on the head of his passenger, who ended up with a concussion. Or the time when Billy Almeida was barbecuing and asked Tom to watch the chicken while he took a phone call. Tom did an excellent job watching it. He watched the chicken burn. So if you have a story you'd like to share, please do so now. There's Keith and there's Junie. They have a mobile mic. They'll go to where you are. Just raise your hand. You don't need to stand up. If this is too intimidating, after the ceremony, you can tell a story to one of my other designated people, and they will do an audio.
Designated people. Thank you. Hello, I'm Carol Bodie. It didn't work. Oh boy.
Right now. There it is. Right, it's on now.
Oh, this one works. Okay.
I won't talk as loudly then. I'm Carol Bodie, and we all know Tom was such an excellent cook. Everyone who knew him. There was a time when he asked someone, how do you cook hot dogs? And they said, well, you boil them. Well, he did, package and all. The whole thing went into the pot. Then there was a time when we were on our way to the Pearl Pink Sand Dunes, which are just beautiful. And I think he and Uncle Al, Bill Almeida, were together. And Bill sent him into the store to get 2 large steaks. Well, he came out with these huge, there was a huge pot roast for each of them. And they put it on the barbecue. It took them a long time to eat it. It was so tough. But our fearless leader, we will always cherish you and miss you. What does that say? Fair winds and following seas. Amen.
Thank you.
raise your hand if you want to, or even stand up so they can find you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Greg. Two quick stories. I met Tommy down at the boat races. I grew up overlooking Ocean Bay, and my brother and I would swim across to Fiesta Island and then walk across and watch the races. Our next door neighbor was Bill Muncie. You know, the house right next to my parents, and so we got to talk to him and learned all about it, and we really enjoyed it. Well, the first time I met Tommy, Kathy and I rented a motorhome for the very first time, and I was nervous as I could possibly be. I'm backing it in, and I'm watching these guys just kind of watch me and grade, you know, how well I'm, you know, and I finally get it in. And I open the door, sweat pouring off me, and Tommy just walks up to me, hands me a beer, and goes, "I don't know who you are, but I love you." Because apparently the people that had been camping in that spot the year before weren't as fun. And so for the next, I don't know, 25 years or whatever, we all camped right next to each other, and 3 of us in a row, and I think at our high point we had like 25, 28 people. And some of the best times I had in my life was just sitting around the campfire, sitting down on the bay with Tom and watching Madison and my boys grow up together. I mean, they started from nothing. We saw them go all the way through. And another just real quick story. So after a few years of getting together and talking and everything, they decided, Billy and Tom decided they want to go to Lake Mead in Las Vegas to watch the boat races. So we take Tom's venerable old Suburban, and we get right before the hills going up, and it blows up. So we're standing on the side of the road in the dark, and somehow we manage to get a flatbed tow truck. And Tommy rides with the driver, and instead of taking it back to the shop, Tommy talks the kid into taking him to like an AutoZone or an auto parts store in a parking lot. Billy and I had nowhere to go, so we're sitting in the back seat of the Suburban up on the flatbed, going down the freeway, having a beer, looking at each other, going, "I know this isn't legal." You know, there's something definitely wrong here, but we had a good time. And sure enough, Tommy's leading the tow truck driver around the auto parts store like a puppy, picking up parts, picking up tools. Next thing we know, the hood's up, he's underneath it, he bought a couple wrenches, and I think, was it the water pump?
Yeah, the water pump.
Yeah, he replaces the water pump, and we're off to the races. And we get there, we watch the races, and we kind of separated for a little while, and I got to go in the pits for $10. And I'm all proud. I come back to Tommy and Billy, and I'm like, "Yeah, I got a tour of the pits with the boats and everything. You know, it's only cost me $10." They both look at me like, you know it's free, right, Greg?" I don't know who to give the money to, but you know it's free. And that night, we had to get a hotel, and I think we were at the Choo Choo Inn, was that, whatever it was, Railroad Inn or something, by the lake. And they only wanted 2 to a room, and there were 3 of us. So I'm like, "I'll do the talking, guys. You know, you guys are going to drink it. I'll do the talking." So I'm standing in front of the little desk clerk guy, and they're standing behind me. And as I'm telling this guy the story, like, "Oh, yeah, he's behind me or behind me," and everything I'm saying, they're contradicting. They're all going. It was just, it was quite an interesting time. I've had some wonderful times with Tom, and I'll miss him dearly. He was a dear friend, a very kind soul, and just a wonderful guy. He truly was. And some of the best times of my life. All right, who's next? Come on. I want to see those hands. We all knew them.
This is going to be rough. Tom and I go back to when I was 14. We played Little League together, went through high school together. I was usher at 2 of his weddings. Probably would have been to the 3rd, except that I don't think there was any ushers. We went to high school together. We had on our cup every morning. We did the 2 hours of that. We rebuilt cars for some of the teachers and stuff like that. And then our third class was civics with Hal Larson. And we would cut 90% of those and go to Sambo's and drink coffee. That was our education. The one thing interesting about Tom that I always felt was that he could think outside the box better than anybody I know. In Hal Larson's civics class, there was always the mock trial that we used to do. And Hal Larson would create some kind of crime. Usually it was books stolen out of the library. And they get caught, and they go through the court proceedings. Well, I was the judge. Tommy was the prosecuting attorney. So we're sitting there, we're going, this is just too much of a slam dunk. This is too obvious. And Tommy says to me, he goes, let's change this up. Hal Larson put this together. Now, Hal Larson was the teacher, and he was very easygoing, good teacher. So I said, what do you mean, Tom? Well, how do we change it up? He goes, let's arrest and prosecute Hal Larson for conspiracy to create a theft. And I went, damn, that's a great idea. So that's what we ended up doing. We railroaded it through all the way. Hal Larson got convicted of conspiracy for theft. I passed a sentence on him that he had to raise everyone's grade 1 grade. All right? So there was one kid named Brian Broderson who he was getting an F. And because of that, he got a D. And he graduated from high school. So when I pass sentence on him, Hal Larson says, even Broderson? I went, even Broderson. Tommy would get us into trouble here and there. I remember one time Tommy's father suggested that we would walk down through the Carrizo Gorge, through all the railroad trestles and all of that. So I'm thinking, why not? It was kind of in the middle of the summer, but it was still not that hot, but we still went ahead and did it. And as we're about a third down, the railroad cops comes on one of those little carts with a gun and basically said, if you guys aren't outside this canyon by the time I come back, you're going to be arrested. So we hightailed it out of there. And the whole time I was bitching at Tom, and he just told me to shut up. One thing about Tom, you know how on your right mirror on your car it says things are closer than they appear to be? Well, on Tommy it would probably say Tommy is exactly what he appears to be. Truly missed.
Hello, I'm Dale Davis. I had the privilege of riding with the Snakes for, I think it's from 85 to around 2000 or so, before I got into Harleys. But I have a favorite story that happened to me and Tommy, and there was other people there too. We were on one of our rivers that we usually go out on, and all of a sudden, Tommy's buggy just rolls to a stop. We all congregated around it, looked down, and decided that the new fuel pump that he had just installed was not working. It was an electric fuel pump. You could hear whether it's not working or not. So he was taking it off, and he said, "We're trying to figure out who's going to have to go back to camp to get another one." And I'm looking at it, and this thing is shiny. I mean, it's got less than 30 minutes on it. And I looked at Tommy and I says, "It might just have a piece of sand in it. Why don't you just tap it?" And he looked up at me and he rolled his eyes, and I could hear it in his head, said, "Davis, hey, I'm a mechanic here." But I said, "Why don't you just tap it, humor me?" So he did. I belong to a Harley riding group in San Marcos. And I was instrumental in
putting down in writing what we basically did out in the desert and adapting it to street riding for street motorcycles. As the desert snakes, we don't leave anybody behind. Somebody has to pull over, we take care of their needs, just as we did in the desert. And that has evolved into a program that is well known by Harley-Davidson themselves. They have the documentation. Also, we have adopted a battalion, the third amphibious battalion out of Camp Pendleton. These are guys that are go over and serve us in the front lines of nasty people. They come back, they buy a motorcycle and they think they're invincible, and they go out and get hurt or killed. And what we do is in our program, we have given them, we conduct rides for them. We teach them our methods, which is a direct descendant of what we did out in the desert as desert snakes. And the Marine Corps is considering making that a national program. So all that ripping around in the desert that we did out there is living on and saving Marines' lives.
I'll keep this real short. I got to work for Tommy for quite a few years. I can't call it work, but his love for Corvairs, that's what I wanted to bring up. He really loved working on a Corvair. He even had a guy calling from San Francisco to talk to him about what to do. So he was really well known for that. And I know that was one of his loves. So I love working for Tommy. I knew him through my brother. But then about time, well, when my son started going to school and I had nothing else to do, I joined the group over at Two Brothers and then on to Chile Coast for lunches. And had a great time. And that's all. I love him. I will always remember. Thank you.
Hi everybody. My name is Sam Williamson, and it's always tough for me. Water's always the key. Tom was like an older brother to me because I'm his nephew of 4 years. So that gives you an idea. So when they talk about the Desert Snakes, Tom's first desert organization was the Desert Angels, which I'm a member of, Troy's a member of, June's a member of, my mom, and Brenda, Sherry, everybody. That's the first organization of the desert folks. And that guidance you're talking about with Tom, the first one that he learned that from was Tom Sr., my grandfather. And Tom was the epitome of it. He made sure the last new buggy was the last one to arrive. He made sure of that. So, real quick story. Why Tom has sand in his veins is because he and I were left in the middle of the desert at about age 14 and 10, 13 and 9. Because in those days, you didn't store the dune buggies as you'd have these toy haulers back and forth. We kept them brawling. And then they were driven out and caravan back and forth. So my mom, my grandfather, my dad, my grandmother, everybody left us two in this little storage trailer about this high. And as you will know, the desert has wind that blows every now and again. and it blew at about 90 miles an hour. And my grandmother made these beanies, and we all put these beanies on and goggles and tried to hunker down underneath this shed, or under this trailer. For some reason, all of that sand stayed in Tom and me. I don't care about going back to the desert. Thank you very much.
So Al, don't you have a story to tell?
All of my stories are profane.
I'm Larry Lataki, and Tom and I go back to junior high school, where he and I became very close, ended up working for his dad at the Texaco station for many years. And we went on to high school. And there's a few things that you need to know about Tom. In his earlier years, is that he and I and one other person almost got expelled in junior high school. He had access to some sort of a printing press, and I can't even recall what the heck we printed up, but it was about the principal and about a dance for money or something, but all three of us got called into the office, and we all got a smacking on the butt, or our parents got called. We took the smacking, and we went back to class, and we continued those kind of charades all the way through high school. During the Vietnam War, my dad was a lifer Marine, and he would be at the table, and I always knew when Tommy came up, the first thing I heard was, "Get your damn hair cut!" So I knew Tom was there to pick me up. We went out carousing. And about that time, I think probably our senior in high school, we were trying to figure out where we're going to go in life. And I remember, I think it might even been a Kitty Hawk was in town. But there was a big demonstration. Students were not happy. Tommy and me and a bunch of us were just kind of like hanging around. And pretty soon, the cops were on the campus. Some others decided, hi. Ended up something about tear gas, maybe some mace. Anyways, we all went home. We were not involved. I swear to God we were not. But Tommy got home, and his dad gave him the riot act because he knew he had been a rabble rouser and been maced. Because his eyes were red. And he did not, I swear he did not do anything, but he and I traveled many roads together up until high school. He moved on, I moved on, and I'm really sorry I've not seen him as much as I should have. In fact, I haven't seen him at all. But he remains very deep in my heart, and his memory survives.
Anybody else want to share? Oh my gosh, here, going once. Oh, there's one.
Excuse my back, everyone. Hi, I'm Jan Butler. And my husband Jeff found Tom, well, whoever it was he worked for, at North Coast. Is it North, what was the name of the shop he worked for, North Coast European? Yeah, that one, yeah. And he became our mechanic and friend. We heard about clownness all the time. My husband, he loved stuff like that. Those things that know me know that I was not a desert person. I mean, not even close. So at one point, Tommy just said, you know, Jan, we should just try it. You know, it's really a lot of fun and a lot of great people. So I thank Tommy for playing this. because he showed me something and friends that I would never experience. The minute he pulled up and saw those dunes, that was it for me. I was an absolute glamorous, whatever. I thank him so much for that. And you know what? He never put me down for not wanting to go. And then when I went, and my ear would allow me to really go out on the buggy rides, actually when we first started going out, Madison had just been born. And she was on a little blanket thing out front. And as time went on, I tried to do the buggy rides, but I couldn't do it. Jeff, of course, had an absolute, he was in heaven, absolute heaven. And everyone was, the friends that we, acquired in the desert states are just, will always be in our hearts forever. And it came to where I would stay back at camp, and I got to take care of Madison a lot. And those were some really wonderful days, some incredible days. The trips I'll never forget. Billy Almeida bringing up the tail end, being the shepherd to make sure that everybody got back and everything was good. Jeff and Tommy were really best friends. And I can just remember they loved the Padres. And I'd be doing whatever, and Jeff would be home watching the game, and he'd call up Tommy, and he'd say, "Pull the pitcher," because the pitcher was giving away too many runs. And I would stand back and just laugh and wonder who was going to call who first, because one or the other one would definitely do it. But we all know that Tommy will be with us forever. And he'll just be in our hearts.
This will be the last one.
Yeah, me. My name's CJ. I haven't known Tom like 45, 50, 60 years like some of you. Only had the pleasure of knowing him about 20 years or so. I didn't really want to say anything because I don't know that 90% of you people, but I figured Tom deserved it. Tom is a great guy. There's no doubt that he's the one thing that brought us all together here. He's helped me out in my life personally. I was when I started getting going in my automotive business, he actually split his shop with me, with loaning me, and he won't anybody either. You go to the desert with him, and I've been there with Jan and JB, and that was one of my best trips ever. And I remember going there, and I was waiting for Tom to say whether we're going to stay here or go, and he's like, "I'm staying tonight, I don't know what you're doing," and I just cussed, and I was like, "Yeah, we're staying." And then I think that was the weekend I blew up the transmission in my Suburban when I was taking Madison home. I don't know if you remember that, Madison. I struggled to get up Competition Hill, which is super awesome. Tom, like I said, Tom shared a shop with me at the beginning of my business, and sometimes I get a little hot-headed. Tom would reel me back in and let me know what I was doing wasn't appropriate, and he's just all around an awesome guy. A lot of what I heard here is, Tom's been a great friend to everybody, and thanks Madison and Mom for sharing with us.
As a child, I was in a white blouse. Tom had a blue paint can. It wouldn't spray on the head, so he tipped it upside down. I don't know if anybody remembers the old Coke bottle tops. It had a sharp end. Uncle Tom decided to pop the top on the paint. I was blue dotted.
Thank you for all those great stories. One last thing, thank you everyone for all your help through this rough time and being here for us and everything you've done. It's just been absolutely wonderful. One last quote, and then Madison's going to show her video. As Keanu Reeves said, Grief changes, but never ends.
Good afternoon. My name is James Lightoff. I'm the exalted ruler of the Vista Elks Lodge. We have over 890 members in this lodge. Tom was one of them for many years. I can honestly say that I did not know Tom very well. I can say that desert-wise, I don't think we would have clicked, as I'm a member of the Los Borrachos racing team, and I've been an Ocotillo Wells guy for 30 years. And we all know that there's always been a rivalry between Glavis and Ocotillo Wells. But through listening to all your stories, I find myself envious, because Tom inculcated the principles of our order, which are charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity. So as the video plays, I want to welcome you to the Vista Elks Lodge. The bar will be open. Enjoy the food and celebrate the life of Tom Kennedy. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming here today, and even more for your support over this past year. I hope you all will take time to enjoy Miller Lite, of course, in my father, Tommy Dooner's honor. You know how much my dad loved his birthday, and I'm sure he would be smiling to know that you were all here getting slightly tipsy for his birthday. If he was here right now, we would all be at the San Diego boat races, shooting the shit and drinking a beer. As I start this speech, I hear my dad's voice in my head, saying, speak slower, speak clearer, and speak louder, just as he would tell me every time I practiced for each presentation in school. I will follow his instructions, but fair warning, I have yet to finish this speech either without crying. Many of you would tell me I got my looks and brains from my mom. I always wondered as a kid, what did I get from my dad? I didn't realize till I was much older that I am my father's daughter. Our relationship started off slow, but he was there for me every day, and we would watch movies like Star Wars together when my mom worked on Saturdays. We watched Twilight Zone marathons every year, and I know what made him cry, and I know what made him happy, what movies he adored, and what he loved to listen to. After my parents got a divorce, I started hanging out with my father a lot more, and actually started having deep intellectual conversations with him about all those different conspiracies that he was interested in. I was older at the time, wiser, and more attuned to my personality, and he surprised me. He supported me, he let me talk, and you all know how I love to talk. He remained interested in my work, no matter if it was being dedicated to journalism, to writing, to science, even that small blip in hospitality. He was supportive of it all. My dad knew me deeper than most people without even trying. We have the same process, and we're the same thought process, and we are the same person. I'm like my father in many ways. We're both cold all the time. We love Triscuits and chocolate-covered almonds, which will be at the back. We are simple eaters, and even deeper, we are both smarter than we first appear. You all probably know how intelligent he is about cars, but he knows the inside and out of every part and the chemistry behind it. And if any of you ever knew, he once wanted to become a doctor. We were both fiercely loyal. We cared deeply about those close to us, and it takes a whole lot for him or I to give up on anyone. From a young age, he taught me and had me memorize the most important facts in life, such as the names of the men that defined multiple generations, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, that Bob O'Reilly is the real title of the song, that 5 to the 5 means 10 minutes, that space is the final frontier, that the truth is out there, and that, most importantly, Mom is always right and we should never question her. He also taught me the art of just being, sitting comfortable and enjoying the moment. I know a lot of random facts about my dad. His favorite animated movie was Anastasia, or at least that's the one he would watch with me most often. He loved Wizard of Oz more than he would let on. His favorite superhero was Aquaman. He loved conspiracies. And then when I asked him, how can I know what you were like back in high school? He had me watch the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High and pointed to Jeff Spicoli and said, that was me in high school. And I'm sure there's many of you who can confirm that as well. I miss him so much, and I wish he was here to tell me what he wanted for my life and what he thought I was destined for. He was taken away from me as our relationship was blossoming further. Whether it was a joke or not, I was quite young when I first learned that my father didn't think he'd live past the age of 45. Every year that he lived was another year he beat his own odds. I truly believed that my father would live forever. I knew he had his bad habits, but he appeared healthy, he would rarely get sick, and he always healed quickly. When he got diagnosed with lung cancer, all I had was the knowledge that he was strong, and I had already lived through the cancer diagnosis of my mom, which she beat with grace. I believed that it would be easy for him too. I may have been naive, but he was my dad. There were so many more things I wanted to say to him, more events I wanted to take him to, and more things I wanted to live with him through. Even when he was in hospice, I believed that he would make a comeback, like he always did. I couldn't understand why everyone was visiting with such sadness and dread. He is Tommy Dooner, and he always bounces back. Even when it was his last breath, I couldn't believe it. When he passed, I was just about to accept that he had retired and that his shop had closed, and that I would never get to be in the space that I grew up in. I'm still overcoming denial. There are many moments in the day when I think of calling him and discover that I can't. I'm still angry. I'm still bargaining with whatever higher power is out there to have my father back. I'm still depressed, and I don't know when acceptance will come. I should have asked more questions when he was with me, but I'm glad to have gotten the time that I had with him, but it was never enough. Most importantly, he knew that I loved him. When I was young, I always felt like a princess sitting next to him in the buggy. My father, Tommy Dooner, was king of the sand dunes in my mind and led countless rides. And I am my father's daughter. I have sand in my veins as well, just as he did, and he will always be a part of me. Our happy place was always in front of the crackling fire with the endless open sky and stars above us and friends all around us. My first memory of my father was me lying in a flower field in Michigan. If there is an afterlife, I hope to awake in that same field, surrounded by those beautiful yellow flowers, and hear his voice say, "Come along, Dorothy." Thank you. Now we'd like to take a short moment of silence. Thank you. My mom has a few announcements.
Don't forget that the Miller Lite beer till that keg is gone is free, so drink up. Also, James is going to be around to take pictures for another 15-20 minutes, so let your photo be taken so we can include it in a memorial book for Madison. If somebody comes around asking you for more Tommy stories, let them tape it for you, for us, for Madison, so please do share more of your stories. We didn't have a chance to hear enough of them because we don't have, enough time. We have to leave the lodge by 5, so we can continue on at my house if you so like, and the address is in the program. Thank you so much.
This will conclude our service for the afternoon. Please enjoy the food and the bar. Thanks for coming.